I'm joined here today by the one and only Marion Reneau set to take on Raquel Pennington at UFC Apex. Of course, UFC Apex, it's easy because all the events are named the same thing. Thanks so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Before we go any further, though, last time I interviewed you, I said your first name completely wrong, and you made sure that that didn't happen again. How was it this time? Was it better?
Marion. Yes, you said it correctly. Thank you. I appreciate you making that effort.
Nah, if I messed it up a second time, I would have just given up and started calling you by your nickname or something, or probably never called you again because you wouldn't have let that one slide.
No worries, no worries.
And the picture behind you, I believe that is your son we're seeing on your wall.
Oh yeah, I double pledged mural of my child up there. So sorry, that's you'll see everywhere throughout the house. That's my greatest accomplishment.
Of course,
Period.
I assume it's got to be kind of weird for him to see these big pictures of himself wherever he goes in the house.
He's been used to it since he's been, I don't know, born.
Well, what's that reaction like when he has friends over? Because I assume he's used to it, but they must have a sort of a big reaction to it.
Nope. They keep their comments to themselves. They don't say nothing to me. They already know I'm crazy about my son.
At the same time, I assume the combination of being crazy for your son and also being a UFC fighter, I assume you don't really want to go up to you like, hey, I got a problem with that picture on your wall.
Yeah, he has really respectful friends. They get how mama bearish I am, even though he's 18 years old. Like I said, I only had one. I had one for a reason, and they're very respectful.
That's perfect. Listen, I believe you're in California. What's your current situation like? I know California kind of locked down early. Are you completely locked down, or do you have some more freedom?
Oh no, we're on stage three, although our stupid governor would want us to be on stage one for till 2022.
Yeah.
But the pressure got to him, I believe, and so we've opened it to stage three, pretty much almost back to normal, which I see foresee happening in August, stage four.
And so I know that you're also a gym teacher. Did you have to do any of those Zoom classes, or I assume that gym is a little bit complicated to try to do over a laptop?
It kind of is. We did still have to do something and require something of the students who wanted to improve their grades. And so obviously Google Classroom became a big part of the PE program. And it was given packets out to students where they can incorporate their own exercises, and their parents would have to sign off on it. So it was just kind of, an integrity thing kind of, and then they would turn them in. Their parents would sign off that they did them, and there's other questions that were asked, but it's not the same as having, say, a PE program at school.
That's right. I assume a little bit that they do it over Zoom, like they have to run around their yard with their cell phone, the shaky camera. But it sounds like you guys really figured it out and made something that sounded better.
Yeah, we did. We tend to work it out. I mean, it was something new for us and of course all the other teachers, and I know they were stressed out. So I commend teachers for being able to make adjustments the way they did. I do not commend our government for trying to cut our state um, our salary
Yeah.
for teachers. I think they're moronic for doing something like that. But
So for the people watching, I'm sure they're like, can we get to the fight stuff? Before we get to the fight stuff, though, there is something I want to talk about. I believe on your latest picture on Instagram, we saw you take a picture with your dog. If I'm not mistaken, that is a Velcro Vizsla in the picture, which I've heard it's a special kind of dog, emotional. There's the Velcro aspect. What's that experience been like for you? Because I've heard it's a really unique kind of breed.
oh, there's no spatial awareness when it comes to them, and they want to constantly sniff you, so their nose is always bumping up against you somewhere. If you have something in your hand, they want to smell it. They want to be a part of what you're eating. It's different for me because I had a Vizsla mix, but it was part pit bull, so she wanted to be close, but not as close as a full bred Vizsla. Now they're high energetic. Um, I love going to work out because he keeps up with me. He loves it. I mean, he's a perfect dog for it. perfect dog for me because I'm just high energy all the time. But that space,
Yeah.
like he has to sit his butt on you. He has to be close to you. He wants to sit with you. Like it's fun.
Well, you mentioned not having any more children, but from what it sounds like, you have two, including your dog.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the only children that I'm gonna be having from now on is another dog.
Yeah.
I actually want a Weimaraner,
Oh yeah.
uh, cousin of a Viszla. I want a Weimaraner, but my husband's like, no, we have too many animals. But you can never have too many
Right.
animals.
For sure. Let's get into some fight stuff. I know people are watching like, damn, we want some face punching. So let's get into some face punching. It feels like we've been trying to get you out in the cage forever. I know injuries, the pandemic, everything's been kind of stopping you from getting back out there. But what's all the stuff you've been facing that's stopping you from getting back out in the cage this past year?
I'd say with the Irene fight, there was a medical injury that I had to pull out of my camp. Did not think it was a great idea for me to go through that fight as much as I wanted to. So we pulled out of that fight. As far as the Vieira fight, obviously I still wanted to do that fight. Unfortunately, she was in Brazil, and Brazil was hit pretty hard with the coronavirus. So I understood having to delay that. And then finding a fight, preferably a top 10 opponent who would be ready and said yes, was going to be the challenge. But we did find one in Raquel, and so here we are, about 1 week away from fight week.
So did you feel like Raquel was the right opponent for you? Because we saw Irene now; she's going to fight Holly Holm. It seems like she's close to the title. Like it seems like this fight is going to help you get close to the title too. And like sometimes we see the opponents drop off when you're forced to pull out of fights. But it seems like she's a good name to sort of keep you out there if you get this win in this one.
Sure, the title is a great focal point to have, but it's not something that you need to drain your worries on. Right now, my worries are fighting and slowly but surely working my way to the top. So yes, any of the top 10 ladies in the division, obviously are going to help propel yourself to the top. So my focus right now is just on getting this fight done and over with. As far as, looking towards a title fight, I need to get this fight done and over with first.
And so, how's training for this fight? Are you able to train the way you want to? Are you one of these people you had to create something out of nothing in your garage, or are you training the way you'd like to for this camp?
Initially, no. Obviously, in March and April, when everything was hiatus and everybody was afraid of the coronavirus, no, you weren't able to train the way you wanted to. I had a couple of coaches who quarantined themselves due to family and the worry of, are their families going to catch it? And I get it. I understand that. I did have some training partners who were able to come in. I'm so thankful for that. I did have coaches who were able to um, make adjustments. So it wasn't the same, but I still had a chance and an opportunity to train.
And so, usually I always ask about the matchup, so I'm going to do so here. And I've never heard a fighter say they don't feel like the matchup goes for them. So hopefully this won't be a first time here. But how do you like the matchup against Pennington?
Yeah, I like it. She's a Muay Thai style fighter. She's, predominantly stand up. That's not to say that she doesn't have groundwork or wrestling. And I think that fits both our styles.
And what's the preparation like for this fight? Is there one aspect that you're focusing on more in this fight than you would in the past? No fighters don't like to get too technical because we don't want to give anything away. But what's the preparation been like for her specifically?
Pretty much, I wouldn't say the same. Obviously, we're focused on a couple of areas that I needed to tune up from my previous fights. But I think that's pretty much all I can say.
Right. And it's been a little while since we've seen you in the cage. Are you worried about, the mythical, whether you believe it in or not? Are you worried at all about ring rust?
No, I don't. That doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I train year round. I don't take time off. I only say fight camp because everything gets a little bit more focused. But in all actuality, I am constantly training. To me, if a fighter is taking months off, you're not really staying prepared. You're not doing your body the due justice that it needs. in order to maintain the higher level.
And so, unfortunately, we do have to talk about this a little bit, but your last two fights haven't quite gone your way. What's sort of been going wrong if you were to sort of kind of pinpoint the stuff that you can look back on in those two fights?
My last two fights would be the cat fight. I lost that fight. And then the Yana fight, I beg to differ on that fight, obviously. Um, and I've had a chance to watch it closely. So my biggest thing with the Yana fight is not letting it go to a decision. Obviously, in the realm of things, I have been notorious to not have any decisions go my way. So not letting it go to a decision was solely my fault. I should have finished the fight when I had opportunity to.
And so, when things like that happen, what does that do for a fighter mentally? Towards the judges, like, does that make you like sort of stop trusting them? Does it make you feel like you really have to, finish the fight? Or
they're they're not inside the octagon with you. They don't, all her significant punches. When you hit me significantly, I will bruise and I will bleed. There is no significant punches. So that's it doesn't do anything to me mentally. It just makes me hungrier to finish a fight. I think that's just my mentality now. Finish the fight, whatever way possible.
And so you spoke about that mentality a little bit. What is this mentality going into the Pennington fight? I mean, you mentioned not looking too far ahead for the title. You want to focus on the now, but what's that mentality like heading into this one?
Just to get it done, to go in there and display everything that we've been working on for these, man, I couldn't even tell you, past eight, it feels like I've been in 3 fight camps, past 18 weeks or so. Just go in there and display what we've been doing and don't stop.
And so you're going to be fighting with no crowd. I know fighters that have different reactions. Some of them are like, oh, it's okay. It's like tough. Some of them, like Gilbert Burns, find it weird because you hear the breathing and stuff. What are your thoughts on fighting with no crowd? Or are you just like a lot of people going to find out?
No, I guess I am
Yeah.
gonna find out. That is kind of weird. When I train with music in the background. I
Yeah.
train with other people working out in the background. So to go into a fight, I mean, I don't think it'll affect me too much, but I- you know, I I don't I put that much thought into it, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
Well,
Now I am.
yeah, sorry about that, but is it gonna be weird that you're gonna hear your corner, you're gonna hear the other corner, and like they say, like you can hear your heartbeat, the breathing and stuff. Do you feel like it's gonna be distracting, or is there like a certain mindset that you go into that you can kind of tune everything out?
Well, when I get in the zone, I get in the zone. So I'll probably tune everything out. The only thing that I do hear are my cornermen. I've trained myself to hear the sound of their voice and recognize urgency and instructions.
And so for this fight, what kind of fighter can we sort of expect out there? Is it more you thinking a barn burner, a technical fight? Obviously, you don't know, you haven't been out there yet, but what kind of fight are you expecting against Pennington?
I think it's going to be an action pack. She's she's pretty phenomenal on the feet, and so I think it's just going to be a fun action pack. Okay, what's going to happen? Kind of fight. I'm kind of excited. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, for sure, and we would hope so too. But I think a lot of people are excited too. I know I was when I saw the matchup, which leads me to my last question. Kind of an easy one that I'm sure you've heard a million times from the fans and media, everything. And we know we're not leaving it in the hands of the judges. But how do you see yourself getting the win in this fight against Pennington?
I don't like to make those type of predictions.
Right.
Never, never gone my way, but I do not see it going to a decision. How about
Yeah.
that?
There we go. We'll take what we can get. We're not going to be picky on here.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time, Marion. I really appreciate it. I really look forward to this fight. I believe it's going to be a big one. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, I no problem.